Michael Mirson's journey begins in the tranquil mountains of Armenia, where he grew up on a prosperous farm thanks to his father's skill and hard work. Life in those early years was plentiful, filled with the abundance of their land and the warmth of family. But this peace was shattered when Soviet authorities forced the collective farm system upon their village, uprooting families and replacing independence with state control. Soon, famine spread. Food became scarce, and every day was a struggle to fill aching stomachs. As a young man, Michael saw his prospects disappear along with the old way of life, so he made the difficult decision to leave his village and head to Yerevan. It was a desperate move, driven by the hope of escape, education, and a future that didn't revolve around hunger. He endured a grueling journey to the capital and was accepted into veterinary school, nearly completing his studies before history intervened. The outbreak of World War II upended every plan. The Soviet Union drafted him into the Red Army as millions of men were conscripted for the brutal fight against the Germans. At first, Michael's skill set matched his role. Assigned to a transportation battalion, he cared for the horses that were vital to moving artillery and supplies. Yet the relentless needs of war meant he was soon transferred to the infantry, facing the front lines unprepared, under-equipped, and underfed. Hunger became as constant a threat as enemy fire. The hardships for Soviet soldiers were severe. Discipline enforced brutally by officers, little training, shoes that shredded their feet, and a near-complete lack of food or compassion. Michael witnessed acts of cruelty, even from his own commanders. The soldiers' suffering was matched only by their fear of punishment or death if they faltered or were captured. Despite the grim prospects, Michael's determination to survive never left him. His first experience of combat left him wounded, but there was no time for real recovery. Soviet command, pressed by urgent need, forced him back into the fray as soon as he could walk. His unit found itself exposed by their superiors' poor tactics, and in the chaos, he was captured by German forces. Ironically, life as a prisoner seemed an improvement, if only slightly. The starvation he endured in the Red Army was replaced with a different kind of struggle. In captivity, food remained scarce. He watched the Germans butcher a horse, begging for scraps. Eventually, he was thrown the head and a lung to share among the prisoners. Each meager morsel mattered. As time passed in the German prison camp, Michael's training once again became his salvation. The Germans needed his veterinary skills in the infirmary, and this work provided a reason for his captors to value him, as well as a relative stability compared to the dangers and deprivation outside. Despite these hardships, or perhaps because of them, Michael witnessed small acts of kindness and mutual support among the prisoners, moments that revealed the resilience of the human spirit in the most dire circumstances. For Michael, each period of his life brought choices shaped by necessity and hope. The decision to escape the collective farm for education, the struggle to survive in both the Soviet Army and German captivity, and the determination to retain his humanity despite everything. All were expressions of a spirit unwilling to let cruelty or suffering dictate who he became. Even as the power and chaos of war swirled around him, Michael's focus was survival, finding sustenance, offering his skills, and seeking out the rare moments where compassion made a difference. His journey through these harrowing times is both a somber reminder of the cost of conflict and an inspiring example of endurance and quiet courage. After facing brutal conditions as a Soviet infantryman, Michael Mirson was wounded in battle but forced to return to combat before fully recovering. Soviet tactical errors led to his unit being ambushed, where hundreds were killed or injured. Surviving soldiers faced danger both from enemy fire and their own officers who threatened to shoot anyone retreating. Eventually captured by the Germans, Mirson's ordeal as a prisoner shifted. While he still suffered from hunger and deprivation, the experience was notably less punishing than his time with the Red Army, as he was spared the endless forced marches and extreme discipline. His veterinary training proved to be life-saving. German forces allowed him to work in the infirmary, which meant safer conditions and better survival prospects compared to other prisoners. Despite relentless hardships, Mirson witnessed camaraderie among prisoners and relied on his skills and resilience to endure. His story highlights the agonizing choices and suffering faced by Soviet soldiers, caught between two brutal regimes and forced to rely on solidarity and hope to survive. Michael Mirson's ordeal during World War II unfolded through a series of harrowing trials that revealed the profound resilience of the human spirit amid the devastation of war. As the German forces retreated from the advancing Soviet army, Michael, already weakened from prior battles and captivity, was forced into a brutal march with fellow prisoners. This journey, executed in the bitter cold of late autumn with snow already blanketing the ground, left prisoners exposed and vulnerable, stripped of their warmer clothing by guards who prioritized their own needs. Despite the harshness of captivity, Michael noted moments of relative leniency from the German guards when compared to the merciless discipline and starvation he had endured as a conscript in the Red Army. Unlike the brutal beatings common in the Soviet ranks, the Germans refrained from physical abuse and sometimes provided regular meals, though starvation and deprivation were ever present. One searing memory from the march left a permanent scar on Michael's conscience. Passing through a war-torn village, he witnessed a young boy, alone and inconsolable, crying for his mother amidst the ruins, symbolizing the tragic innocence shattered by conflict. This painful image deepened Michael's hatred for the war and the leaders, Hitler and Stalin, responsible for such senseless suffering. He questioned the necessity and morality of the destruction that devastated lives regardless of nationality or ideology, shaping his lifelong conviction about the immense human cost of war. During these marches, known as death marches for their lethality and hardship, prisoners faced constant threats from exhaustion, hunger, exposure, and the risk of execution if they lagged behind. Michael's skills as a veterinarian offered him a rare lifeline. The German captors, recognizing his expertise, assigned him to the prison infirmary. This role not only enabled him to secure slightly better conditions, more consistent food and shelter, but also allowed him to care for fellow prisoners, forging bonds of solidarity and compassion in a setting defined by suffering. Tending to the sick and wounded provided a purpose beyond mere survival, illuminating moments of humanity that persisted even under extreme adversity. As the chaos of the collapsing Third Reich intensified, prison camps were abandoned or left in confusion. Guards, sensing their imminent defeat, often fled, leaving prisoners unsupervised and vulnerable to lawlessness and, more ominously, to approaching Soviet troops. Many, including Michael, feared liberation by Soviet forces due to their reputation for retribution and the harsh treatment he previously endured in the Red Army. Determined to avoid this fate, Michael escaped with a group of prisoners, navigating treacherous terrain in pursuit of the relative safety offered by American forces. Their journey required immense caution and endurance, driven by hope for freedom and the prospect of rebuilding shattered lives. Reaching American lines marked a pivotal reprieve for Michael. The liberators provided nourishment, medical attention, and the promise of security, representing a dramatic shift from the years of deprivation and dehumanization. In the aftermath, Michael, like many others uprooted by war, sought pathways to renewal. Emigrating to the United States opened opportunities unforeseen amid the conflict. With the help of a sponsor, Michael resettled in America, where he applied the discipline and skills honed through adversity to establish a peaceful existence. His frugality and unwavering work ethic allowed him not only to start his own business but to support relatives in Azerbaijan, maintaining ties to his heritage and demonstrating a lifelong commitment to family. Michael's journey encapsulates the wide-reaching human cost and complexity of World War II. His experiences exposed the distinct yet interwoven cruelties of both Soviet and German regimes. He observed that, while the Red Army enforced savage discipline and neglected its conscripts, resulting in starvation and death on the front lines, the German captors, though harsh, displayed sporadic leniency and sustenance during captivity. This nuance challenges simplistic narratives of wartime heroism and villainy, revealing the ambiguity and moral ambiguity faced by ordinary individuals trapped between warring powers. Long-term survival for Michael required not only resourcefulness but also an ability to adapt to shifting circumstances. Unlike many Soviet POWs who, upon returning home, faced suspicion, persecution, or accusations of collaboration and cowardice, Michael found a chance to forge a new life in the United States. His success was rooted in personal determination as well as the support of a broader community that helped displaced persons recover and rebuild. The lessons learned from years of deprivation, prudence, frugality, and compassion shaped his approach to business and family, enabling him to help relatives abroad and establish a foundation of trust and support. Through interviews and personal testimony, Michael provided nuanced insight into warfare's personal toll. Each recollection, whether of freezing nights, devastating combat losses, or moments of mutual aid in prison camps, challenged simplistic depictions of wartime bravery. His narrative emphasized endurance, humility, and the will to survive in the midst of cruelty and loss. The searing memory of the abandoned child in the ravaged village, combined with a pervasive rage at senseless violence, underscored the importance of remembering the war's everyday victims and the necessity of peace. From his childhood in Armenia, marked by famine and collectivization, to the torture of frontline combat and deprivation, to captivity under German guards and eventual liberation and renewal in America, Michael's story traces the tumult of the 20th century through a lens of personal endurance. His journey was shaped by clutching to skills for survival, navigating uncertainty under fire, and remaining steadfast in compassion despite persistent hunger and sorrow. His legacy offers a beacon of hope for those facing adversity, that through courage, empathy, and resilience, people can preserve their humanity even amidst unimaginable hardship. In the subsequent decades, Michael continued to share his experiences, believing that honest testimony was crucial for future generations to truly grasp the realities of war. His insistence on truth and remembrance acted both as a caution and a call for compassion. Through the lens of his life, the complexities of history are revealed, not as distant events, but as intimately lived experiences shaped by suffering, hope, betrayal, and redemption. Michael's reflections provide a vital perspective on the comparative brutality faced by Soviet soldiers on the Eastern Front, a story often overshadowed in broader historical accounts. His detailed recollections of starvation, merciless discipline, and fatal tactical blunders highlight the struggles endured not only from enemies, but from commanding officers within his own ranks. In contrast, his experiences as a German prisoner, marked by occasional respect and sustenance, illuminate the tragic contradictions of warfare on the Eastern Front. These revelations give voice to the millions who navigated impossible choices and endured unfathomable suffering. Ultimately, Michael's journey stands as both a historical record and a deeply personal exploration of survival. It illustrates how, even in the darkest times, the capacity for endurance and compassion can persist, shaping paths to renewal and dignity after conflict. His story invites us to look beyond statistics and dates, to honor those who bore the heaviest burdens of war, and to commit ourselves to peace in their memory. Through his testimony, the staggering complexity of history is made accessible, bearing witness to the interplay of suffering, hope, and human agency amidst the destruction of war.